You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Happy Wednesday, everybody. May the 4th be with you. It's this week's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions, brought to you by AETi, Case Financial Group, or not Case Financial Group, but AETi, Evolve Green, and Fabricland Winkler, the official sponsors of today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Fabricland Winkler, the official sponsor of the show, Rise and Shine Manitoba. Happy to be back here on this May 4th, 2022 date here on this Wednesday. I'm going to be joined by two people in today's episode. And as you can see in my background right now, I got a swimming pool. That's because I'm going to be talking to a swimmer of Bison Swimming, Carson Beggs. Going to be asking him how he got involved with swimming with Bison Swimming, their swim team, as well as the events that he's competed so far this year in swimming in the upcoming events he has. I'm also going to be sitting down with Gordie Tumilson of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy in today's episode to talk about all things Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, and ending off with an edition of Graham's Opinion. If you guys want to know what is on tap for today's edition of that segment, stay tuned until the end of this edition of Rise and Shine. But without further ado, it's time to bring on swimmer Carson Beggs for Bison Swimming here on this edition of Rise and Shine on Rise and Shine Manitoba. And you know what it means, Manitoba. Once that intro hits, it's time to rise and shine here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Carson Beggs on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Carson, you've been busy this year with swimming. Of course, swimming back in full force this year. You've had a busy schedule. Finally able to join me on this Wednesday morning of Rise and Shine Manitoba. How you doing on this Wednesday, man?
Absolutely. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Graeme. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. It's great to have you on, man. And it's going to be fun to talk about just who you are as a swimmer, you know, the events you've been competing in this year and the upcoming events that are still to come this year on the swimming calendar. But start off with this. You swim with Bison Swimming. Talk about the decision you made to join them and join their swim team.
So Bison Swimming, I've lived in Manitoba all my life, and I swam in St. James for the first 10 years of my career. And my coach, I wanted to go down to the States, was looking to go down to the States and wanted to go down to the States, swim D1. And, he was like, why go down to the States when you could stay at home, live here, and swim with some of the best swimmers in Canada? And Vlastic being one of the best coaches in Canada, and especially for a breaststroker, just that made my decision that much more clear. And having my teammate Kelsey leading into the Olympic year, and that unfortunately getting shut down, but training with her was unbelievable. And that led me to make the choice to go and swim for U of M and stay here.
So, yeah, you started off swimming, like you said, about 10 years ago before this, and then you joined Bison Swimming. Just talk about how you got into the sport, because, of course, there's many sports kids can end up playing. Swimming is one of those rare ones, I feel like. Talk about what exactly inspired you to join the sport of swimming.
Absolutely. I've always been an active kid, played every school sport under the sun. I ran track, played basketball, volleyball, did it all. And I played hockey for the first 4 years, as every Canadian kid does. And I just didn't enjoy it as much and wanted to try something different. So we had moved to St. James from Headingley, and we were driving past Civic Center, and my mom said, hey, do you want to try swimming? And from from then on, it was history. Just a pure coincidence. Fell in love with the sport and never looked back.
Yeah, it's funny how those things work, right? You're
Yeah,
driving by a swimming pool and then, hey, try out the sport. And here you are about 10 years plus later swimming for this Bison swim team. You talked about the coaches that you've had a chance to train with, of course, Coach Vlasic of Bison Swimming and others as well. Just talk about how, this decision staying in Manitoba, swimming with Bison Swimming has helped your development as a swimmer.
the really nice part about being Manitoba swimming is so small, and it's such a small community that we're all super tight knit, and that means that my coach that I had originally, uh, I still talk to him today. I'll see him on pool deck. I see other coaches, and I have the opportunity to work with them on the Manitoba senior team when we have training camps, uh, and when the junior team is in the water, they're around. There's always coaches that are coming in that we've chatted with and that we'll continue to talk with. And the fact that it's everything is so tight knit, it creates an environment that you're able to develop as a swimmer far better than any other place in Canada.
Right.
It's just so tight knit, and the coaching is so, you're always growing. There's never, yeah, never a dull moment in Manitoba swimming. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was when we were covering the Manitoba Junior Provincials at Pan Am Pool, as well as the Mansask Swimming Provincials, Winter Swimming Provincial Championships. You could see the community, the inspiration that was there, and just how everyone was so into it. Talk about that, just being able to have swimming back, being able to get back to some normal this year. How nice it's been to see that.
Yeah, the last 2 years have been extremely rough, especially moving from a club swimmer to a varsity athlete. Your life revolves around swimming in school. That's what your life turns into as a varsity athlete. And being stuck training and training and training and then having it disrupted and not having a clear goal is very, very tough as an athlete. And to finally have some sort of normalcy where you're able to go to a swim meet that's guaranteed, that's higher level than a program meet, it's a championship meet. You're able to, you know, throw on your nice tech suit and really get down and be rested is super important. So Mansask was a huge, huge meet for not only varsity guys, but for club swimmers to be able to have a chance to get down to best times and throw down some really fast swimming.
You talked about how throughout the pandemic, with the pools being shut down, training, it was, the motivation as well, just all the challenges that came with this COVID-19 pandemic, how you felt that you handled those challenges that were thrown your way, particularly.
Well, the first lockdown was really, really crucial for me. I was very burnt out of swimming. I was on the verge of quitting.
Mm.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting out on the back deck talking with my coach, and I said, I'm so exhausted.
Yeah.
I can't make these morning meetings. I need a break. So he told me, hey, take some time off, just disappear, do what you need to do. And I dove into my job. Dove into working in a kitchen, working in a hotel, and that was able to let me reset and come back in September and be pushed into a leadership role with the team and led to me being put on UMAC council and ended up with me being the captain of the team. And that just let me really dive back into swimming and really fall in love with it again.
Yeah, so for yourself, even though for a lot of swimmers out there that this pandemic was a negative, this, in your opinion, was a positive for you because it allowed you to have a reset and find your passion for the sport again.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of negativity surrounding COVID-19 and there's a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of good things that came from it. And it allowed me as an athlete and as a person to grow and really was able to help keep me in the sport and keep me going. The year off sucked that we couldn't compete, but it allowed me to train and get stronger. So I can't complain about that.
Talking about yourself as a swimmer, just how you've developed throughout the years to the point where you're feeling at where your swimming is now in terms of the strengths as yourself as a swimmer.
Uh, for me, like my strengths have always been uh, those longer events. Those 200s are always my wheelhouse. And being able to train as we were, it was very nice to, be able to be in the gym. I had a little bit more time to get a little bit stronger, put on some muscle. That was really the goal of the pandemic was, hey, let's put on some muscle while we don't know what's going to happen. And then we'll really, dive back in when we're in the water full time and working on, you know, turns, working on underwaters, being able to really play into that above water stroke that I'm very, very strong in and normally take off on people. And then really working on that front end to help with the back end swimming that I'm very strong with.
Obviously in any sport, hitting the gym, a very important thing of any athlete's training to get stronger, build endurance. For swimming, the gym just as important for swimmers. Talk about how important you found it in terms of just getting in the gym and putting in the work there and how it's translated into results in the swimming pool for yourself.
Absolutely. So for me, it's not so much as, hey, you're just going to the gym to go to the gym. I have a wonderful strength and conditioning program at the university behind me. Um, our head strength and conditioning coach during the pandemic, the first pandemic, he was in the gym 3 times a week with me. But my regular trainer, my strength and conditioning coach, he was writing my sets and he was making sure that I was getting the right work done. So making sure that it was a lot of power work, lots of power work, then heavy
Yeah.
lower body, and then a little bit lighter upper body, just to make sure we were hitting everything that we could and making sure that we were preventing injuries. That was the biggest thing for me, was ensuring that, hey, if I'm going to lift really heavy, I want to make sure that I'm preventing injuries in the pool so we can continue to move things forward.
Right. No doubt. And definitely has helped you out in your success you've had this year as a swimmer, especially in Mansask, as we saw. But talking about your favorite stroke, it's the breaststroke, isn't it? Talk about why
Absolutely.
is the stroke that you prefer the most out of the rest.
Swimming's just such a weird sport. Being able to now look at it from a coaching perspective, coaching my mini bisons, you're able to see, you have kids that just naturally swim breaststroke and they're naturally just good at swimming it. So for me, being a young kid, I couldn't do dolphin kick to save my life. I could not, still to this day, I can fake swimming a 50 fly, but I can't swim fly to save my life.
Right.
Um, but swimming breaststroke is just something that's come naturally to me. And I've always always had a strong breaststroke kick. Being able to, with moving through the groups that I did with my old club, being able to work with Olympian Rhiannon Lear, that was one of my coaches that really, really emphasized the fact of, hey, you're a breaststroker, you've got a really strong breaststroke. Let's use that to our advantage and let's turn you into a strong breaststroke and medley swimmer, being able to always pick up on that third 50 where some people really struggle was really, really important in growing into the swimmer I am today. So without her and without my other coaches being able to push me towards using breaststroke to my advantage and growing my other strokes, I wouldn't be the swimmer I am today.
Yeah, and it's definitely helped you along the way. And yeah, you definitely were cleaning up in some of those breaststroke events that we saw at Mansask. Speaking of Mansask, you've competed in that event so far this year. Of course, that's way in the rearview mirror at this point. Talk about some of the other events you might have competed in this season besides Mansask.
Yeah, so this season was our first look back in a normal year. We started off the season with our normal SEALs meet and then our first college cup out at UBC. So that was our first varsity meet in 2 years. Then our team, we came home. We had a couple home meets. We had our home Bison sprint. We had another SEALs meet. And then we took off to Can West Championships in Edmonton. So that was our first real look at high level swimming, and our division is very, very tough. We have the two reigning champs of U Sports swimming in University of Calgary and UBC being the reigning champion. Their men's team hasn't lost in a decade.
Wow.
So it's been a very, very tough division, but we
Yeah.
came out one of our best years so far. Came home. We had Prairie Winter Invitational. That was another high level meet right before exams and leading into the Christmas break. Post that, we had a huge break. We normally will go off to College Cup and then right into U Sports Championships. But this year, with everything happening with Omicron and everything, they decided to push it back until after Mansask. So, being a swimmer that hadn't qualified for U Sports, Mansask was a huge opportunity for me to really have a good, solid 2.5 month period where I could train as hard as possible,
Yeah.
twice a day in the pool, a lift every day, plus Saturdays having an additional lift, that really being able to push into Mansask, taper down, push at Mansask, and then qualify for U Sports, and we'd leave 2 days later. So right after the 50, I'm not sure if you remember, but I was, super duper excited right after the 50s prelim, and that had gotten me my U Sports time. So 2 days after Mansask, the Tuesday after, we were leaving the U Sports champs at Laval. So that was our last meet that we had, and then came home 3 weeks of training, headed off to Edmonton again for Western's champs. It was a little bit of a tough meet, not at best times, but I was still able to swim at such a high level that I was able to win a first national medal. So that was great, coming second in the 100. And then right now, getting ready for Mills Ajax, which will be at UBC again. So that'll be a fun meet, swimming for the Manitoba senior team. So that'll be great.
Yeah, right on. And awesome, you were able to earn a national medal, which is just a huge accomplishment there. Yeah, you were
Absolutely.
fantastic at Mansask there, Carson, from just calling the swims, calling the meets, the heats that you were in. But you spoke about the upcoming events coming up. What's going to be the mindset for yourself to prepare for these upcoming events as the swimming season goes along here?
Leading into Mills Ajax, the thought process is just get up and swim. It's another opportunity to go swim fast in a fast pool. We always talk about, having fast pools, and UBC is always a very fast pool. There will be lots of fast swimmers, and it'll be a good way to end off the season. And really, that'll let me reflect on the season and really cap off a good year of swimming, leading into another good year next year. And we're just going to set up for the summer.
Yeah, well, right on. You finished that your swim season strong there, Carson. Build those good habits heading into the next season there, and continue to keep growing in the sport that you love so much that you found love in. So Carson Beggs, swimmer of the Bison swim team, joining me on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Carson, great to chat with you on this Wednesday. You take care, man, and keep enjoying this wonderful sport that you're so good at of swimming.
Awesome. Thanks again for having me, Graham.
Of course, you take care.
Bye.
And stand-up guy, Carson Beggs, joining this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba here on ASTV Productions. Folks, we got another guest joining the show coming up next. It's going to be Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, talking about all things Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, about the past games that teams in the academy played, as well as some upcoming stuff. The evaluation camp's going to be talking to Gordie about that, as well as the recruiting and marketing that the academy is doing, and some more things as well. So before we go to break, I want you guys to let us know in the comments wherever you're watching, where you are watching on this Wednesday morning, how you're doing, and just comment down below how you're doing on this Wednesday morning. Want to hear from you guys, and I want to hear where you are tuning in from. But we're gonna throw it to a commercial break. You'll be watching a Fabricland Winkler commercial coming up next, the official sponsor of Rise and Shine Manitoba, as well as maybe another commercial as well. But one thing that is for certain, Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, is coming up next year on the show. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba show on ASTV Productions. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
Hello, my name is Loretta Mitchell, owner of Evolve Green. And here at Evolve Green, we take the environment very seriously. We have a 10 kilowatt solar system that offsets our main facility by 75%, as well as maintaining natural prairie on our grounds. Our mission, creating renewables that work for you. I started Evolve Green in 2008 with a passion for the environment and wanting to change my corner of the world. And that remains the same today. Through design, consult, and installation, we provide renewable energy systems and storage integration. Here at Evolve Green, we help Canadians rethink power and storage to help fortify our children's future. To learn more, visit evolvegreen.ca.
Tumilson joining this edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment on Rise and Shine Manitoba. It's the goaltending coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. Gordie, it's been a busy time for Pilot-Mound, even though the CSSHL season is concluded long ago, but there's been evaluation camps. Teams are still playing games. Let's talk about this past weekend for what went down for the games that were played from the academy.
Well, the U18 girls played on the weekend, of course, and so I guess the boys did as well out in Moosomin. So U17 boys. So the girls had a good series. They played pretty darn well against some that top end competition, and so we didn't win a game, but we certainly played okay. And some of the girls played even better than they had for the most part during the season. So a little bit of rest that helped them out. We got a lot of kids with injuries and bumps and bruises that haven't quite healed. So the season has come to an end for them, but again, a good last weekend for them to get together as a group and play some games in Winnipeg and do some shopping, and which girls will do, and boys might not do so much, but that's okay. And so, yeah, it was okay. And the boys were in Moosomin playing against ISA, International Indigenous Sports Academy, and they lost the first game, and I think we got kicked pretty badly in the second one. But that's what happens at times. So their season is now over, and everybody. We just got the one series coming up with the U15s, but I guess we'll talk about that at some point later on.
Yeah, and of course, this U17 program for the academy getting some games here late in the season, and as well as the U18s as well. You doing okay this morning, Gordie? I hear you coughing with the throat.
Yeah. Well, we had we'll talk about the evaluation camps in the weekend, and that's my gargly throat just from chatting with the boys and talking an awful lot with parents and players and a lot of communication stuff. So my old voice is taking the beating.
Well, we'll talk about those evaluation camps coming up, like Gordie said. But take care of yourself, Gordie. Want to hear you 100% coming on these editions of Rise and Shine Manitoba. But getting to the question I was about to ask you before I asked the last one, just the U18s, U17s, getting these extra games in at the end of the season, how huge is that in terms of the extra development that they've gotten throughout these games?
Well, it always makes for a little bit of fun, something to look forward to more than anything else. And in terms of development, of course, we're always assessing what they're doing individually and as a team. And it also makes it a lot more fun when you're having some games to look forward to, and then playing in those games. You can kind of look at those games afterwards, in particular on video, etc., and see your own game and see what you've done and maybe what you've done better, not so well. And that's a continuing process for these kids for their entire hockey career in terms of where they're playing in competitive level. So yeah, they're important and they're fun. So that's the other part of it. Kids like to play games. They're used to playing games, and so it means a break from the tedious practice schedule that we have. It's long and arduous every day. So this is a little bit of a break, and they enjoy that.
Moving on to the evaluation camps now, they have been continuing along here for Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy. Looking at Twitter, it was announced 19 hours ago that registration, telling anybody for the U15 camps, male U15 prep evaluation camps, which are starting up on May 14th and May 15th. Visit pilotmoundhockeyacademy.com if you want to register for that, if you're interested. But talk about the evaluation camps, the camps that ended up taking place this past week.
Yeah, we had a pretty good turnout. I think there's about 10 or 12 players came out for the weekend and showed their stuff. And we had some good players, and that's always a bonus to come out. We had 3 new goalkeepers, and all of which played really well. We had 2 scrimmages, 2 practice sessions. We were evaluating, and we do a bunch of our coach Ernie Sutherland is a particular sort of expert on the evaluation drills and whatnot. He put the kids through a bunch of things like that, and so we were able to kind of do a good assessment on their skating, stick handling, passing skills, etc. And the goalies, of course, stopping the puck whenever it was important in the games. And so we had a good session, good eager kids. I think we signed 1 or 2 players on the weekend to the upcoming season. That information will come out later on the summer. So it was really good. Good, nice parents. We get to talk with all those folks. That's what I say. And that's I've got my Halls package here, so that I sort of eat about 14 or 15 of those a day. I shouldn't do that, but it's a long weekend. So anyway, we got talking with the parents and the players individually together, and a good weekend. They get to see the facility too, and that's the big part for us, is getting people to Pilot-Mound, because they don't know what we've got, even though we have pictures and we have all kinds of good videos and all kinds of good stuff. When they walk in the door, they're surprised. They're surprised at the quality of the facility. They're surprised at the big score clock at center ice, et cetera, et cetera. They go, holy cow, we got a score. Not many community rinks anywhere have a big score clock in the center. So there you go. But it was a good weekend.
Yeah, the only problem is hopefully that thing never falls. Because that'd be no good if that scoreboard fell down on the ice.
Well, they re-duct taped the thing every year, so we know it's fresh duct tape that holds it up, so we're good.
Yeah, as we all know, duct tape, the only way to put things in place, right? But the scouting process, I mean, obviously using the evaluation camps as a tool for scouting, but outside of the evaluation camps, talk about the scouting process, how that's going for all teams in the academy right now.
Well, all of our coaches and our sort of regional scouts, provincial, stateside scouts are continuing to send names in, look for people, watch videos, talk to folks. So that's an ongoing process, and that'll take us. Well, it'll probably, we've got till August the 1st to kind of, get our teams settled. If not, then it'll be a bit of a panic time, and if we don't have, I would say, 15 or 16 players in each team, all of our 4 teams in place and ready to go. If we've got more than 4 or 5 guys and gals that we need to sign, that's kind of a big number. And so by then, of course, the good quality players are probably gone. So we're going to get secondary players, and that's okay because it's development for us. But it's certainly not something that we would, for us to compete, we need to have more of the top end players. But it's going off well, and we're continuing to look. And if anybody's got a kid out there that they know should be looked at, please get in touch with us. I know our Pilot-Mound website will take off. Thanks, Graeme. We'll take, and you can contact any one of the coaches or the management team via email or phone, whatever you like. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Right down there, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen.
Yep,
Pilot-Mound-HockeyAcademy.com. Right there. Listen to Gordie. He's pointing there as well. Even he's telling you to go check it out. So, Pilot-Mound-HockeyAcademy.com is the place to find everything to do with the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy Buffaloes programs. In terms of marketing, with you being the marketing director, anything we're seeing in marketing in particular that we should be keeping an eye on, or that the viewers should know about?
Yeah, we're going to be announcing periodically as we get the information, the various commitments our players make, either down south in Canada or with junior teams, college teams, et cetera, et cetera. So that's an ongoing process that we throw onto our social media platforms, all 4 of them, and we talk about them here, of course, on occasion. So that's going to be that's really ongoing for us. I guess our marketing program really is sort of centered on recruiting right now, and really in particular. So we're not spending as much time sort of in general. We're spending more time very specifically in targeting certain markets and certain people and certain organizations that we need to for not only for recruiting people in, but certainly placing people out into the teams that they've We've got I think 8 graduates. Is it 8? Maybe 10 graduating players this year, and we know we have a few of them already committed, and we're looking at others. And that's part of our program, is to help and assist the players find a home once they've graduated from us, so that they can continue their and we know that they've been developed properly and as best as we can, so that we are able then to tell the teams that are looking at them what kind of person they're getting, and what they're up against, if the player's up against when he goes to a new place. So yeah, that's what we're up to.
Well, speaking of a player in particular from Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, we talked about 3 players last week: Jade Wendigo, Lily Medicine, and Morgan Satie getting selected to the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship. One name that was not mentioned, and it was announced on Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy's Twitter at PM Buffaloes recently. It's Katie Lacoste getting selected to Team Nova Scotia to represent that province for the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship this season. Just talk about this huge moment for a player like Katie Lacoste.
Well, that's huge to be ready. First of all, to be as far away as she is, and this really goes to, I guess it's what you would call marketing in some way, shape. Not because it's me, it's just because it's in general. It's hockey TV and ASTV broadcasting all these games, and the scouts and coaches and whatnot from all over the world literally be able to watch and say, oh, she's from here, let's get her on our team, and so here's Nova Scotia realizing that Katie Lacoste is out here and is able to play, along with Kean Hodgins, our goalie guy from our U17 team, who's from Ottawa and was in the OHL draft the other day. So that, those kinds of things are really neat. And for Katie, I mean, that's a really big moment. Those things just don't happen because you're just anybody. You've got to produce, you got to perform, you got to be a good person. And when they contact the coaching staff and our management team, they talk about that stuff, we're able to tell them that we've got a great quality kid here, and she should be considered certainly on any team that's interested in her.
Yeah, congratulations to Katie. The hard work paying off for her this season, getting rewarded by being selected to Team Nova Scotia, representing her province at the National Aboriginal Hockey Championship. You spoke about Kean Hodgins. He was in the OHL draft. What went down for one of your favorite goaltenders, Mr. Kean Hodgins?
Now, Hodgie didn't get drafted. He was on the preferred list of goalies It was a pretty long list. There was probably 30 goalies on it from in Ontario. He was about middle of the way in terms of his ranking. They did not get down to his level in terms of the numbers of goalies drafted. I think there was only about 10 guys drafted in total of the 303 draft choices. They only picked maybe 10 goalies. So goalies weren't a priority this time for the OHL teams, and so Haji didn't get drafted. He's a pretty disappointed young guy, but he knows he's got to move on. We talk about those things. We texted back and forth on the day before just to make sure he was aware that it might not happen, because it might not happen. But the good news is, again, he's in Pilot-Mound. The OHL was quite aware of Cian Hodgins, where he played. And that's primarily because of again, ASTV and the hockey TV broadcasts, and the fact that the coaches, because they did not come out here to watch him. None of the teams came here to watch him, but they were able to watch him on the TV and watch video. So a good quality goalie, a great kid, and he'll be looking to improve on that and get better and move on anyway. So he didn't get drafted, but he was on the list, so that was really neat.
Yeah, and obviously disappointing when a player has high hopes of getting drafted and doesn't get drafted. But for Cian Hodgins, he's young. He was spectacular this season, no matter what the numbers say, just the volume he faced. And you know Cian Hodgins very well, as you've worked with him. And with him being so disappointed, you have to think coming into next season, he might be playing with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, he may be, and that's not a bad thing unless you go too far with that. And to be quite honest with you, it's probably not a healthy thing to do for the long term, is to play with a chip on your shoulder, because that wears off at some point. You need to play because you want to play, you love the game, and this kid does. He's just absolutely. I ask all the goalies at the start of the season, where do you aspire to play? And they'll all tell you, well, I'd like to get to, junior, dub, college hockey. If I, maybe he just went right to NHL. he couldn't say NHL out of his mouth. I made him go last because I wanted him to say that last, and he went last. He just NHL, and he stopped. He smiled and said, "That's where I'm going." So. You got a guy that knows where he wants to go and what it takes to get there. And he proved himself certainly capable in our program. And he got better. He got stronger. He got to be a way better skater now than he was when he got here, as he tells me. Because I ask him, what are you better at? And he's, I'm way better skater because of the ice time. I mean, we get so much ice time here. Yeah. How can you not be better? Sort of a thing. So that's again that's a plug for us, I suppose, but it's a plug for the player who used the ice time properly and is playing really well. So, yep. And then we're not sure where he's going to play next year. We're not sure he's coming back. We hope he does, but he may move on to Junior A. He's eligible now and in Ontario to do that. So we'll see.
Well, will be interesting to see. And no matter what happens, Cian Hodgins definitely leaving his mark this season for Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, and getting to work with this guy, Gordie Tumilson, as he always so often does join these editions of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV. Gordie, until we do it all again next week, coming up here on the show, we'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks, Graeme. Good to see you again.
Gordie Tumilson joining this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions, talking about Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, as he always does on the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Tune in next week to listen to all of this stuff that I'll be asking Gordie in next week's edition of the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Coming up after the commercial break here on Rise and Shine Manitoba, it's time for this week's edition of Graeme's Opinion. What will I be diving into? Well, you've most likely seen it in the description of this episode already, what I'll be talking about on this week's edition of the segment, Graeme's Opinion. But to find out what I'll be talking about, that is coming up next here on Manitoba Show. You're not going to want to miss it. Stay tuned after this commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba, everybody. It's been a wonderful episode up until this point. Just got done talking with Gordie Tumilson on the Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy segment. Talked to Carson Beggs, a swimmer of the University of Manitoba Bison swimming team earlier on in this episode to start things off today on Manitoba's show. If you want to go back and watch the interview I did with Carson Beggs right now, or with Gordie Tumilson that I just did, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot-Mound Hockey Academy, on our website, if you're watching it there on amateursports.tv or astvproductions.com, with our new media player, you can now rewind and go back during live broadcasts. So yeah, that's a cool feature that is on our website, on our new media player, amateursports.tv. Check that out if you want to check out that feature during these live shows, live broadcasts, and anything else we broadcast on our website. But welcome back to the show, everybody. It's time now for this episode's edition of Graeme's Opinion. And yeah, I know that I say I don't want to talk about the NHL, about pro sports anymore. I talked about why playoff hockey is just it's the best last week, but today I want to talk about the first 2 days of the NHL playoffs, just the craziness we've seen so far. It's not craziness. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people have predicted what has happened so far, but starting off with this one, I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs able to win 5-0 over the Tampa Bay Lightning, a game, in my opinion, the Lightning did not even show up in. The Lightning don't show up again tonight, and Toronto plays the same way. Tampa is very well looking at being in a 2-0 hole. And the last time that happened in a playoff series for Tampa Bay was when they got swept back in 2018-19, when they won the President's Trophy and got taken out in the first round in a first-round sweep against the Columbus Blue Jackets. For the Carolina Hurricanes, they're winning. They won 5-1 in their first game. They'll play tonight over the Boston Bruins, very strong team. The St. Louis Blues winning 4-0 as well over the Minnesota Wild to take the first game in that best-of-7 series. And the LA Kings beating the Edmonton Oilers, and the Kings, a slept-on team. I did a bracket. I didn't pick them in my bracket to go, but I could definitely see them beating Edmonton. With Edmonton, to be honest, their lack of depth in terms of their scoring lines, and just LA, if they're able to finish and capitalize on their special teams, look out. This could be a team that could upset the Edmonton Oilers in the first round. The Pittsburgh Penguins and New York Rangers played 3 overtimes last night before they decided a winner, and it was the Pittsburgh Penguins winning 4-3. The Rangers had a goal called back. It was a controversial call, but they would have went up 4-3 in the third and most likely would have won that game. Who knows? Maybe Pittsburgh would have tied it. But I didn't see the call, but many people saying it seems very controversial. Some people saying that, it was a goal. Some people saying that it was clearly not a goal because of the goaltender interference, which was called. But Yeah, this game went to 3 overtimes. The Penguins, starting Casey DeSmith and net for this game. Of course, Tristan Jarry, their starting goaltender for this season when he's been healthy out with a broken foot. But this game was so long that DeSmith apparently cramped up, and that caused Louis Domingue, I guess the backup goalie, but third string goalie of the Penguins, to come into the game, and he posted a 17 save shutout. Igor Shesterkin faced 83 shots and made 79 saves. What more can you ask of him? I'm really not sure. But yeah, crazy game. And just taking a look at the total shots, 83 to 68 in favor of the Pittsburgh Penguins. That is absolutely ridiculous, those amount of shots. And yeah, will be a very interesting series if all of those games are so close. The Washington Capitals coming out with an upset, winning 4-2 over the Florida Panthers. Now, Florida has not won a first-round series since 1996. They're the President's Trophy winning team this season, best team in the National Hockey League. But they're down 1-0 against the Washington Capitals. It was a very close game, 4-2, and will be interesting to see, can Washington pull off an upset? Because, hey, that team's a very good team, and honestly, maybe a bit overlooked heading into the playoffs just because of the opponent they're facing in the Florida Panthers. The Colorado Avalanche, 7-2 win over the Nashville Predators, the most dominant win in the playoffs so far out of any team. It started off with a 5-goal period for the Colorado Avalanche. Their stars coming to play. Gabe Landeskog being back, their captain, and Nashville able to add 2 goals to Shane with both of them. Just that's not going to be enough to beat this Colorado Avalanche team. And just taking a look at the stats, it was David Riddick who got the start. He only made 3 saves on 8 shots against, he made 8 saves on 13 shots against, let in 5 goals before being pulled. And for this guy, Connor Ingram coming in, a name that I recognize. I can't put exact. I think he played for Team Canada at the World Juniors one year, but yeah, he came in and did his thing, making 30 saves on 32 shots. So probably you have to think Nashville rolling with Ingram heading forward in this series because of the absence of their starting goaltender in UC Saros. Huge blow for him not being back, but even with him in, let's be honest, this Colorado Avalanche team is ready to go, and I don't see them losing in that first round. Another game that happened, a Canadian team in action last night, the Calgary Flames winning only 1-0 over the Dallas Stars. But in terms of this game, sure, if you're a Flames fan, you might want to see more goals from your team. But defensively, shutting out Dallas and only holding them to 16 shots. Calgary putting up 26. Yeah, I gotta like the defensive performance there if you're the Calgary Flames. And yeah, it will be interesting to see. But yeah, the first 2 days of the playoffs have been entertaining. If you're a fan of certain teams, it's been disappointing. Or if you're a fan of the teams who have been winning so far, it's been amazing. Leave a comment down below who you want to see win the cup this season, and what series you're most surprised about so far this year of how it's been going. And hey, you know what? In 2019, 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic first started up, the NHL, along with all the other pro sports leagues in the world, major ones at least for the NBA, they shut down, and many other leagues followed suit, NHL being one of them. And yeah, they ended the regular season shortest regular season I can remember besides the lockout year. Last year, of course, it was shorter as well, but never seen a season get cut short due to just a pandemic, because we've never seen a pandemic like COVID-19 in my lifetime, at least, for myself. But they ended up having playoffs that season, and they ended up playing in the bubble, as you guys know if you watched hockey and watched the playoffs back then in Alberta and Edmonton. And yeah, There were no fans in the stands. They put in crowd noise, artificial crowd noise, which actually worked pretty well, but just didn't seem right not having fans in the stands at the end of the day, even though at the time it just wasn't possible for that to happen. Fast forward to the next season. They split up the divisions different than I think they ever have. There was an all-Canadian division. There were many other divisions as well, 3 others. And for the Canadian division, there were no fans in the stands until Montreal in game number 5, I believe it was, in the final game of the season against the Tampa Bay Lightning. But you could just see the level of intensity, that transpires out there when there's that crowd, when there's actually people in the stands, as there were in games in as there were in games in the States, like Carolina, for example. That place was absolutely rocking, and it just adds another factor to the game, having the crowd with the crowd noise. And it's just so much better to play hockey just from experience with the crowd when it's hyped up, because for me, like I assume for these hockey players as well, it gets you fired up, especially if you're the home team. Like the Toronto Maple Leafs, their fans at Scotiabank Arena, that arena was absolutely buzzing. To see that back in Canada, especially, and to see the fans in the stands again, watching playoff hockey, and not only playoff hockey, but just in general this season, is just amazing. And it just makes sports so much better when fans are in attendance, because you get to play in front of the people that support you, that support the team, and you get to play in front of a madhouse, maybe if it's super loud, which it just adds another level of intensity, in my opinion, having the crowd there. So, I think that's been missing in the playoffs for the last 2 years for the majority of teams that have made it in the league, or for the teams that have made it to the playoffs in the league. And to have them back now, with fans being out in full force supporting their teams, diehard fans at that, it's been amazing to see so far in the playoffs. And got to give it to Toronto. As much as I like to clown on the Leafs, and it's fun to do that, gotta give credit to how packed and how loud that fan base was on Monday night, and it's probably going to be as loud tonight as Tampa Bay will be playing against Toronto again at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. Moving on to one last thing today, not talking about sports, but talking about streaming services like Netflix, Crave TV, Disney Plus, and the thing is, streaming services are on the rise in terms of them raising the prices of money. So we'll take a look. Netflix Canada price for May 2022. And let's see. I don't know, but let's look, for example, what's coming to Disney. Let's see. Anyways, I can't find exactly the stats on it, but I know that Netflix raised their price again per month. I believe it's like $16 now per month to watch. It's something crazy like that. I could be wrong on that, but I do know that the prices have raised, and we're not only seeing it with Netflix, we're seeing it with Disney Plus, we're seeing it with Crave, probably like Amazon Prime as well has raised their prices. Just prices seem to be raising and seem to be rising as well, the prices. And, this makes people kind of like rethinking their subscriptions, right, to these streaming services, thinking, do I have the content I want to watch on here? Is it worth paying that amount of money to watch streaming services, right? And I think the main reason why streaming services, in my opinion, now this isn't, I don't think there's any facts on this. This is just my opinion, but places like Netflix and Crave TV and Disney Plus, it seems like more common for people to watch shows on those streaming services now and actually choosing cable. And I think with cable slowly dying, with this being the internet age, with more streaming services more than ever being added, it seems, it doesn't surprise me that these prices are raising and that are rising. And, I think that it's also about that competitiveness too, right? If a certain brand is charging a certain price, well, a brand like Netflix is going to look at it and maybe they'll up their prices to compete with that. But that's also kind of stupid when you want to lower the prices as well. But these companies, I guess, have to bring in money at the end of the day. And since streaming services are more of an essential need for people in terms of watching entertainment now, like TV shows and movies, rather than watching cable, where cable, you got to wait for episodes to be released week by week. Sometimes you got commercials. With Netflix and Disney Plus and all those other streaming services, I could put on a show and binge that and not have to wait and not have any ads. For example, like here's a perfect example. Breaking Bad gets released. One of my favorite TV shows of all time. It got released. It was a part of AMC. They're the ones that were airing it, and they're the ones that still continue to air a show called Better Call Saul as part of the Breaking Bad universe. But that's besides the point. With Breaking Bad, when it was coming out, and see, I watched it way later than it actually stopped airing when the show finished. But when it was airing back then, like on AMC, you had to wait week by week for the episodes to come out, and there were so many commercials. And for myself, like I watched Breaking Bad, I binged the whole series. There was like 62 episodes, 5 seasons, and they weren't short episodes. But I ended up watching it in 12 days because I did not have anything to do. But that just speaks to it. You can binge a show like that, like Breaking Bad, nowadays, where it's a longer show. It's a show that when it got released, it gets released day by day, not day by day, week by week. And there's commercials, no commercials on Netflix. I didn't have to wait for any releases. It's just all there at my fingertips, at my disposal to watch. And yeah, it's just for people, it's that instant gratification of being able to binge it, I think, is a huge reason why people are gravitating towards streaming services and all the other things as well that come with the benefits of it. And just with cable dying and cable kind of being a dinosaur type of way to consume media like TV and like movies, it's no question why, in my opinion, streaming services are rising, because they're the new kids on the block. They're the ones that a lot of people in the world are gravitating to and just cutting out cable altogether for it. But yeah, that's going to do it for Graeme's opinion today, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below of what you liked in today's edition of Graeme's opinion on Rise and Shine Manitoba. And going to be doing it all again next week. This is going to mark the end of today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth. Happy to be back here on this Wednesday morning. I want to thank Carson Beggs and Gordie Tumilson for coming on today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba and being a part of it as the two people who joined me on today's episode. I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in as well today. And also a special thanks to the sponsors of Rise and Shine Manitoba and AETi, Evolve Green and Fabricland Winkler. Next edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba show will be coming to you guys next week at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Be sure to catch that episode. Stay tuned for it at 10 a.m. next week. You can watch it on amateursports.tv or asttvproductions.com as our website. Facebook production, or on Facebook at ASTV Productions, or on Twitter at Amateur Sports TV. Be sure to check us out on social media, on Facebook and Twitter, as well as on Instagram if you have an Instagram account on ASTV Productions, to stay up to date with the latest guest list that will be released for this show coming up next week on Tuesday night. And also, I will be putting my Graeme's mental health fundraiser down in a link in the description of today's episode. All proceeds going to mental health, the Canadian Mental Health Association. It is open until next Tuesday, May 10th. So there's still time to donate. If you don't want to donate, please be sure to share it to get the word out about this fundraiser, raising money for a great cause and going towards the Canadian Mental Health Association. Not sure if I'm going to hit the goal or not that I wanted of $1,000, but that's okay. Honestly, any money that is raised, I've always said this from the start, is going to be money put towards a good cause, no matter how much money is raised. So thanks to everyone that might have donated or might have donated so far. And yeah, just want to always express this. My views and my opinions expressed in the GoFundMe page are my views and my opinions alone on Bell Media. They do not associate and line up with the views and opinions ASTV Productions has on Bell Media. But yeah, still time to donate. You can donate if you want to Graham's mental health fundraiser. I'll link it down in the description of this episode after this episode is complete, after it is done airing. But yeah, that's it, folks, for today on Rise and Shine Manitoba. I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, giving you the salute and peacing out on this Wednesday morning. And until next Wednesday morning, folks, have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday morning today. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday today as well. In general, stay safe out there. Have a wonderful rest of your week and a fantastic weekend as well. And a great start to your week before I see you all next week on Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time here on ASTV Productions for Rise and Shine Manitoba. But until then, folks, for all you fans of Manitoba show, like I said, I've been your host, Graeme Forsyth, giving you one more salute and a peace out. Peacing out on this Wednesday morning. Take care, everybody.